Archangel Michael says this is not a coincidence. You were summoned to this message. Heaven does not speak often, but when it does, it never wastes a word. This is your divine confirmation. A sacred shift has begun on your behalf. Be still now, for what you are hearing is not human. It is not ordinary. This moment is sacred. Before you pressed play, before your eyes met these words, something ancient stirred in the heavens. Your name was spoken. Not whispered, but proclaimed across realms that eyes cannot see and ears cannot comprehend. And when your name was spoken, Archangel Michael moved. He did not descend with fire or storm. He descended with silence, a silence that carries authority, a silence that commands all other voices to grow quiet. This is the hour, he says, when the waiting ends and the blessing begins. You have waited, haven't you? In the secret places of your soul, where no one could see your disappointment. You have carried silent prayers, buried hopes, and fragile dreams you dared not speak aloud anymore. But now, heaven answers. You are not watching a video. You are standing in a divine encounter. Your spirit recognized this long before your mind could explain it. That tug in your chest, that stillness in your breath, that sudden quiet in the room. It is all heaven's way of saying, we are here, and we have come bearing news. Archangel Michael says, he has seen everything, not just your victories, but your tears in secret. He watched when you smiled for others and broke down in silence. He stood beside you when you whispered prayers you didn't think anyone heard. Heaven took note, not of your perfection, but of your persistence. There was once a man who waited 7 years for a promise. Each year felt heavier than the last. But in the 7th he had a dream. A voice said only 2 words. It's time. The next morning, the breakthrough came, not by force, but by alignment. That man was not a story from history. That man was you. Michael says, you are closer now than you've ever been. The air is shifting. The heavens are leaning in. If you've been sensing strange timing, unusual signs, random delays, they weren't accidents. They were placements, divine rearrangements. Everything has been orchestrated for what comes next. The delay wasn't a punishment. It was a setup to humble you, to strip distractions, to tune your ears to heaven's pitch. And now you're finally listening. Remain still, beloved, because what Michael reveals next will explain the pain and the purpose of your waiting. Archangel Michael says, the delay was not denial, it was divine alignment. What felt like rejection was heaven's redirection. What seemed like silence was God setting the stage. You thought nothing was happening, but in the spirit realm, everything was moving. Documents were being written. Doors were being reassigned. Your name was being reattached to blessings that had been delayed, not denied. There was once a woman who gave up praying. She had asked for years and saw no change. One night she cried out in anger, not faith, but heaven heard even that. And in the very week she decided to walk away, a letter arrived. Her breakthrough didn't need her perfection, only her presence. Michael says, your presence here is proof enough. Heaven counts it as faith. Every tear you shed watered something in the invisible. Every disappointment became a seed. And though the soil looked dead, the roots were growing deeper. You were not forgotten, you were being preserved. Because what is about to be released is too valuable to be rushed. The weight has not weakened your spirit, it has strengthened your discernment. And now, finally, you can recognize what is truly for you. Michael is preparing the atmosphere. The gates are unlocking, and your blessing is beginning to stir. Do not move, because what's coming next will show you why the enemy tried so hard to make you give up. A shift has occurred in the unseen. The angel assigned to you has changed, not because the last one failed, but because a new level of blessing requires a new level of protection. There is a sacred rotation in heaven. Certain angels are appointed for the waiting, others are appointed for the delivery. And now a high-ranking guardian has stepped forward, not in response to your fear, but in recognition of your readiness. He stands at the threshold of your life, sword drawn, not in war, but in witness. He is not here to fight for your survival. He is here to guard your reward. Heaven does not send this kind of presence for small things. It moves like this when scrolls are unsealed, when seasons shift, when destinies are activated. This is that moment. You may not feel ready. You may still think you're not worthy. But heaven does not operate on your feelings. It moves by appointment. You were not randomly chosen. You were reserved, held back until the atmosphere could hold what God planned to release through you. You do not need to chase what is already marked with your name. You only need to stand still and receive it. And now that the angelic exchange has taken place, watch how the atmosphere around you begins to respond. Even time will start to bend in your favor. Don't look away, because next, the signs of this shift will begin to manifest, clearly, powerfully, undeniably. The signs have already begun. You've seen them, felt them, dismissed them as coincidence. But they were not random. The repetition of numbers, dreams that won't let go, the same phrase heard from different mouths, the sudden stillness in a noisy place, the sharp tug in your chest when you were about to quit. These were not accidents, they were signals, subtle, sacred, divine. The angel assigned to you does not always speak with thunder. More often, it's a nudge, a whisper in the wind, a shift in the atmosphere so soft that only the Spirit notices. There was a girl who kept waking up at 3:33 a.m. At first, she thought it was insomnia. Then she began hearing her name in her dreams. And one night, without warning, the answer she had prayed for arrived, not from a person, but through an open door she didn't expect. This is how heaven works. It hides great things in small moments. Your sensitivity is not a flaw. It's your signal receiver. What you've been calling weird is actually sacred. You are not imagining the timing. You are being invited to trust it. And now, as these signs become more intense, you'll begin to sense what's truly being delivered. Not a hint, but a harvest. Stay with me, because next we will unveil what is on its way to you, with names, faces, moments, and blessings you forgot you even asked for. What is coming cannot be stopped. Not by human resistance, not by your past mistakes, not by the forces that tried to bury you before your time. What belongs to you is now in motion. It won't arrive with noise. It will come wrapped in peace. It will feel strangely familiar, like something you once dreamt and almost forgot. There will be restoration of resources you lost, of relationships you thought were ruined, of time you believed was wasted. There will be provision, unexpected messages, phone calls that shift the entire tone of your week, opportunities that appear without you knocking. There will be healing, not just in the body, but in places no one sees, places you locked up long ago just to survive. Heaven does not release small things at this hour. This is not a trickle. It is the beginning of overflow. You may feel unprepared, but the spiritual realm sees you as ready. There was once a man who had nothing but a worn prayer and a quiet yes. He had no backup plan, only trust. And in a single week, his life unfolded like a scroll, revealing blessings he never dared to write down. This is the atmosphere you are standing in now. The conditions are identical. The timing is divine. Be still. Because next, the hidden dreams will be brought into light, and you will remember what your soul never forgot. The dreams you've carried are not forgotten. They were not silly. They were not random. They were given to you in seed form, by a hand that sees the end from the beginning. Some dreams feel too beautiful to speak out loud. So you tuck them away, afraid of disappointment, afraid of ridicule. But heaven remembers what you buried. There was a child who once dreamt of flying, not in fantasy, but in freedom. Years passed, life grew heavy, and the dream was silenced. But in her 30th year, she stood on a stage, not with wings, but with words that lifted thousands. It wasn't just a dream. It was a preview. And it had waited patiently for her readiness. You too have seen glimpses of places you've never been, of people you haven't met, of things you can't explain with logic. Don't dismiss them. The realm of spirit often speaks in images before it manifests in matter. The one who watches over you has not only seen your dreams, he has walked through them, and he has returned with the instructions for their fulfillment. The time of hoping is shifting into a time of receiving, and what once haunted your imagination will soon fill your reality. Let your memory stir. Let your spirit respond. Because what comes next is not about dreaming anymore. It's about opening. There is a moment when asking must give way to receiving. You are now standing in that moment. You have prayed, you have fasted, you have cried quietly in rooms no one else entered, and heaven saw it all. But now, heaven is no longer responding to your requests. It is responding to your posture. There was a woman who no longer had words left to pray. She simply sat in silence, hands open. And in that stillness, answers began to arrive, one by one, without striving, without force. This is the power of surrender. Heaven is not asking for more effort. It is asking for trust. You do not need to earn what is already yours. You need only to make space for it. When your heart softens, the gates widen. When your spirit rests, the blessing descends. The one who stands guard over your life does not need your performance. He moves when you are still. He delivers when you stop running. Now is not the time for more words. Now is the time for open hands and steady faith. Let this truth settle deep into you. You are never forgotten. You are being prepared. And now all of heaven is leaning in. Remain quiet, because next, what has been scheduled in the coming days will begin to reveal itself with unmistakable signs, divine intersections, and quiet miracles. Pay attention to the next 7 days, not with fear, but with discernment, for the invisible is about to become visible. Heaven often whispers before it speaks aloud, and right now, the whisper is approaching your doorstep. You may notice unexpected delays, moments that seem off course, but they are not setbacks, they are divine redirections. Someone may speak a phrase you just dreamt. You may be drawn to a place without knowing why. A name you haven't heard in years may suddenly return to your awareness. These are not accidents, they are signals. There was once a man who kept seeing the same bird on his windowsill. He thought little of it until the day it didn't come. That morning he received the phone call that changed his life. Heaven had been marking the rhythm all along. This is the kind of timing now unfolding around you. Do not dismiss the pull in your chest, the sudden silence, the unexplained emotion. You are not being dramatic, you are being alerted. These days are pregnant with fulfillment. What you see may seem small, but it carries the weight of something larger than you could plan. Remain watchful, remain soft, because what you feel is not coincidence, it is confirmation. And in the final part, you will receive the words, "Heaven has waited for the perfect moment to release." Not instructions, but affirmation. Not a warning, but a welcome. You have reached the edge of something holy. This is not the end of a message. This is the beginning of fulfillment. No more reaching, no more questioning, no more wondering if heaven hears you. You have been heard. Not just recently, but since the very first whisper escaped your heart. The angel who has walked beside you, he now stands behind you, silent, still, and smiling, because his task is complete. The blessing has landed, the gate has opened, and the waiting is over. There was once a soul who asked for a sign again and again, but the sign never came, until they stopped asking and simply listened. And in that stillness, the voice came, not as a sound, but as a knowing that filled every room inside their chest. That knowing is what you feel now. You are no longer on the outside. You have been brought into alignment, into timing, into peace. Let this be your confirmation. Let this be your release. No more delays, no more striving, no more fear. Everything you thought you missed was only waiting for this moment. So be still now. Let it unfold. It has already begun.